right, so hello everyone. My name is Sri Lopez, and along with my counterparts, if they'd like to introduce themselves, they're welcome to. We're going to be presenting information regarding evaluating foreign credentials. So I'll be joined with Miss Eleanor, Miss Maria, and Ernesto.
Hi.
So a lot of times I get asked, what is a foreign credential evaluation? A foreign credential evaluation is a type of report that a student or an employee, it could be a TCC employee, may request to confirm what parts of their credentials are equivalent to the academic credentials in the United States. So what we mean by this is we may have a student or a fellow coworker that has completed high school or has attended college outside the United States and they would like to further their education in the United States. So this is going to give us an idea of what their starting point would be, or if they pick up where they left off. Is requesting an evaluation right for me? So students and employees who typically request their foreign credentials to be evaluated do it for a few reasons. So just as I alluded to before, they completed high school outside the United States and they would like to enroll in college in a degree or a certificate program for the first time. Perhaps they started college outside the United States and they would like to transfer their credits into an institution of higher learning here. So it could be a student that maybe they attended college for 1 year and they want to continue their studies. Perhaps the student or employee completed their college or their university degree, so they have earned an associate's or a bachelor's degree outside the United States, and they want to continue their education on from there. So they would need to see if they're going to start with us, if we're passing them on to the university, or if it's somebody that's ready to go to graduate school. And we've also had a few instances where the students actually were licensed professionals outside the United States and they would like to continue working in their field in the United States. So we've had several people that were teachers, nurses, engineers. I've had a couple of accountants. I know I've had a dentist. So what we want to do is assist these working professionals to continue working in their field here. And then on the applications, typically what you'll see is the evaluators might ask, what's the purpose of the evaluation? And you can actually select more than one option. So is it for educational purposes, which would include going to college and either starting a degree or certificate program or continuing on with one that you had already started? Is it for employment purposes to show that you do have a high school diploma? I've had students that have used it for that purpose if they're applying for jobs. We've had some that have used it for immigration purposes. I have a handful of students that are using it to gain admission into the United States military, to obtain a certification or license, or to renew a certification or license, as well as any other miscellaneous reason. Are there different types of evaluations? Actually, there's a couple of different types. So you're going to see the first two types here on this slide. So both of these are general evaluations. We typically use these for students that have completed the equivalent of high school outside the United States. I tend to opt for the second option that includes the GPA because it's going to include that United States style grading system. So just to be on the safe side, I typically like to use the one with the GPA, and our registrar's office here at Tarrant County College has tended to accept those with no problems. So again, students that have graduated from high school only, or you might see a student that may have attended college for like a semester, but they moved in the middle of the semester and they don't intend on claiming any of the credit. Are there different types of evaluations continued? So there's also what's called a course by course evaluation. So in this case, I'm going to summarize it and make it really short. These are the students that have completed college level coursework, and they want us to basically determine if the courses that they took outside the United States are the equivalent of the courses that they would take here, so they can actually receive credit for them. So for example, if the student says, I took this calculus class in my home country at my university, or just any country outside the United States, then we would compare that calculus course to see if it's the equivalent of our calculus course. And it will break it all the way down. So where do I go to request an evaluation? So we'd like to go to the naces.org website. That's www.naces.org. And I included a screenshot on here that gives you a glimpse of some of the current members. This isn't an exhaustive list. I just wanted to make sure you had a visual so you knew you were in the right place. Is there an agency near me? So keep this in mind. You are not restricted to using an evaluator that is in the state of Texas. There's some that are in New York. There's some that are in California, Miami, Chicago. If you want to use an out-of-state agency, that is fine. I did comb through every one of the websites, and we have 4 evaluators that are in the state of Texas. And I've provided their direct links below. So there's one in Dallas, one in Denton, there's one in Houston, and there is one in College Station. Ooh, how much does it cost? So when I broke down this estimate, this is accounting for you requesting 2 copies of the evaluation. And I'm saying 2 copies because you want to send one to TCC, straight to international admissions, and you send one to your house because things happen, stuff gets lost in the mail, there's delays. So if the copy that you send to the school doesn't quite make it there and you have your copy and it has not been opened, then you can still turn that into international admissions because it's still sealed and they will accept it without you having to go back through the process again. It also includes requesting the original documents to be returned to you. So when you request an evaluation, they're going to ask for your original diploma and transcripts that already have that seal on them. So they don't want photocopies, they want the originals. And they typically do not return those documents back to you unless you indicate you would like for them to send them back. So additional shipping does apply. And if your documents have already been translated into English. So this estimate is including the documents that are in the language of instruction, and the school or the institution has provided certified English translations already. So for the high school general evaluations, whether it includes the GPA or not, you're looking at somewhere between $150 and $160. For the college level course by course evaluation, where it's listing out all of your courses, if they're the same as the ones that are here in the United States, and your grades, it will include what your grades or your marks are. That's going to run you about $230, give or take, I'd say $10 or $15, depending on which agency you opt for. And note, additional fees will apply if you opt for expedited processing. So if you need this in a hurry, like a 2-day rush, a 5-day rush, or a 10-day rush, then you're going to notice that the fees will increase considerably. Okay. Then additional price information. So I'm just going to touch on this briefly because every now and then I'll receive questions about it. So this is the more advanced, I would say, I guess the more like advanced courses. So for example, you have a student or we have a colleague that was a teacher outside of the United States, and they would like to obtain their teaching certification here. This is how they would go about doing that. And you can see what those additional fees are there. And you can see that breakdown between 10 business days, 5 business days, and 2 business days. So again, that's the cost of the evaluation depending on how fast you need it, that's for 1 copy, not 2 copies. The documents that are needed. So documentation needed varies by the country. So if you go use any of those evaluators that are on there, they're going to provide you with a link where it provides you with a list of all the countries, and on there it's going to tell you exactly which documents need to be submitted. My recommendation is call the agency before you send off anything and before you pay a dime, because this can get really expensive. So what you're going to want is the original high school diploma or certificate in the language of instruction, as well as certified English translations, the original transcript in the language of instruction and in English, and verification may be required based on the country, and additional fees may apply. So there's certain countries that are on a list where if you try to contact the institution directly and you're not able to reach them, if the agency is reaching out to them on your behalf to verify that your credentials are valid, then they're going to charge an extra fee for that on top of the evaluation. Okay, so let's say hypothetically I need my documents translated into English. What do? Most companies will not accept translations performed by someone that isn't an ATA certified translator. And I did provide an example here with one of the agencies where they said that they don't provide the translations, but they included the link to get your documents translated. Now, Spantran, which is located in Houston, they are able to provide you with a quote if you'd like to get your certified translations performed in-house. So it's 2 separate applications, one where you just need the translation only, and then there's a separate application if you would like to move forward with requesting the evaluation to be performed after the documents have been translated. Okay, so this actually happens quite a bit. Actually, we're experiencing this right now. So what are my options if I did not complete high school outside the United States? Or maybe I did complete high school or attend college outside the US, but there's a situation going on in the country where I went to school and I cannot request my documents. So there have been situations where the documents have been destroyed, the school's been destroyed, and it's not there anymore. The school has closed. So what's the plan B? Well, the option would be you could take advantage of enrolling in our high school equivalency program. So Tarrant County College actually offers prep classes at no cost to you. We have them located on each of our 6 campuses as well as our satellite locations. So remember, the prep courses are offered at no cost, but there are fees associated with taking the practice test. So if you're on GED.com and you're taking the GED ready, there's a fee to take the practice test, as well as the test itself does have a fee. So with the GED, the one on GED.com, I'm familiar with that one because I've taught GED. You don't have to necessarily pay for the entire test all at one time. It's broken down into 4 parts, and you pay for the individual portion. And then if you earn your GED or your HiSET credential, it's essentially the equivalent of graduating from high school in the United States. So if you did not graduate in your country, or we cannot retrieve those documents from the institution outside the United States, this is going to be the backup plan here. And I included the information for GED.com as well as the HiSET down below. So that was my kind of brief overview of how just some of the information, like the baseline information that you would need to know if you're going to get your foreign credentials evaluated, or if a student or fellow colleague comes to you and asks if you have any basic information about it. So my colleagues, do y'all have questions for me? Or y'all need me to pull up those lovely websites so we know what they look like?
Oh, I think that might be a good idea.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to pull up, so the first one that I have here, this is the NASA's.org website. So when you type in Macy's tomato.org, then it will pull up the National Association of Credential Evaluation Services. So this is the landing, so you know you are in the right place. All you do is you click on membership, look for members, and you scroll down, and then there's the directory of the current members down here. So remember, any of these agencies that you see, you can use them, but only 4 of them on the list are based in Texas, or they have an office in Texas. Okay. So if we look at what some of them are, this is the website for Global Credential Evaluators, and this is the one that is located in College Station, and it will actually show you what their services are. So you can see, if you expand out, the types of evaluations they have and what they're for. So this would be like your high school one with the GPA. This course by course report, this is the one where you're trying to evaluate college credit. And then notice where I was saying some of those additional fees may apply. So if you are in a pinch and you need expedited service, if you have $200 sitting around, you can expedite it, but notice it does not include the mailing time for them to mail it back to you. That's just for them to process it quickly. And then if you need additional copies, then you want to add that in there. So remember when I mentioned that you probably want 2 copies, one for the school and one for yourself, then you're going to want to add that into the total. Okay. So again, this is the one that is in College Station. Each page has a frequently asked questions section. What I did like about their page in particular is they did provide the information if you needed to get your documents translated into English. So right here where it says, can you translate my documents? Here's the link for ta.net. See, and that's the American Translators Association. And then you're able to search for them. So like if your documents are in a specific language and you need to translate them into English, you're able to select if somebody is certified in at least one language or both languages, the area of specialization. So it's not just restricted to education. It could be legal documents too, that if you need help with those. And then you can search by the zip code. Do y'all need to see an example? Or you guys got that?
Not necessarily.
Okay, cool. So this is the landing for the American Translators Association. And all the providers are not necessarily in the United States. I did actually find a few in Mexico too. So if your documents are in Mexico at a family member's house and one of the certified translators offices is nearby, they can send the documents there and then send them here if they would like. Yeah, so that's an option. Okay, over here, this is transcript research. So transcript research, this is the company that's based in Dallas. And if you need to go and apply, they have an electronic application. I actually like using them not just because they're down the street, for convenience or anything like that. But what they actually allow you to do is you can scan those documents. So somebody comes into your office and they bring the documents to you and they show them to you. Then you can actually scan the documents and you can upload them. And that way they can start the evaluation with the scanned copies, but they will not finalize it. So there's a disclaimer right here where they're saying that a photocopy is not considered official. The official documents have to be sent by U.S. mail, but they can move forward with processing the evaluation. And then it goes all the way down to the payment, and then you submit it, and you'll be notified. Probably the standard turnaround time is about 3 to 4 weeks for the evaluation itself. And if you needed to expedite it, there's the additional fees right there. And this is where you would look for the additional services. So if you wanted an extra copy, so you can get an email or fax copy, a copy of your documents provided for the evaluation, so for them to send it back to you, and then an additional copy of the evaluation itself. So this is where I was talking about one goes to your house, one goes to TCC International Admissions. This is where you would select that. And then under third-party shipping, there's the shipping fees, and then it would allow you space to put in that third-party address. So in our case, it would be our international admissions office. It would go right here. The person's actual home address goes up top. Okay. Y'all have questions about that?
No.
No? Okay. One of the things I did want to bring up is when I did mention that some of the companies do require, some of the countries require verification. It's going to give you a list on each of the websites as far as what they are, and then you can actually see what the requirements actually are for the specific country. So this is an example of what that document would look like. And Afghanistan by itself is half a page. You always want to reference this document. A lot of times you'll have people come into the office that will ask you, what documents do I need to submit? As you can see, it varies very drastically depending on the country. So I would always reference the document. And I typically reference more than one agency just to confirm that I'm submitting the right documents before we ever turn anything in. Okay. I think there's anything else in here too. Then over here, this is Spantran. So this is the company based in Houston. And this is where they have their fees. So this is the equivalent of high school right in here. This one right here is the one, like if they're trying to get their courses evaluated that they took outside the country and they want to continue their studies. And then these are the more specific, more advanced ones that you saw in the PowerPoint itself. And you can see it broken down by how quickly you need it processed. They are the agency that can provide you with a quote if you do need the documents translated. But please note that the cost of the evaluation and the verification services do not cover translation services. So it is separate. Those are going to be 3 different separate fees. And Spantran is affiliated with ATA, or the American Translators Association, the website that we looked at earlier. And then you can see down here, this is where they start talking about if you need to verify the documents. So if they're trying to authenticate them. And but they were saying you can try to connect with the foreign institution, ask them to send the documents directly to the agency. If it's not possible and the agency is reaching out on your behalf, that's what these fees are. So again, this doesn't include the translation. This does not include the evaluation itself. This is just them verifying your credentials. So your diploma, your degree is valid. And it's very specific depending on the country. And then notice it's also specific depending on the field of study. And even delivery charges. So with this one in particular, if you live in Houston, you can go pick it up. Yeah, some people were like, oh, Houston. I had students say, oh, Houston. My cousin lives there. I'll drive there. So sometimes you'll get students that will say, I'll go pick it up. And I'm like, okay. Your family there? Yeah, I'll go stay with them for the weekend. Okay. And then the last one that is on here, that's in Texas, International Academic Credential Evaluators. This is the one that is located in Denton. So not too far from us, right? And then it's going to give you all the information here. So same thing, you're able to view the document requirements. They provide some information about translation services and their evaluation and shipping fees. Here's their frequently asked questions, and then how long will the evaluation take as well. So you can see what their fees are. So this detailed evaluation, it's the same as the course-by-course evaluation where you're looking for the college level courses. So they want $195 for that particular one. So again, don't forget, ask for an extra copy, ask for your originals to come back, and include that third-party shipping to send it straight to TCC. So you want to factor that in when you're going in. And then there's your shipping fees down there. So they had that. I think they had translation services. Oh yeah, they're the ones who had the translation services. There you go. Translation prices. $59 per page for language group 1, $65 for language group 2, and $75 per page for all other languages. And I did call them to verify that is basically $60 to $75 for the front page. So you're going to pay an additional $60 to $75 for the back side of the document. So it can run anywhere from I'd say approximately $120 to $150 for one document to be translated into English. So yeah, so it can add up pretty fast. And they're working with a third party to take care of that for you. But that just gives you an idea of about how much it's going to cost, because people are going to ask you that question. That will come up. And then same thing, they have their breakdown of the different countries. And they did also put a note on here to make sure if you're sending some photocopies in for them to start on your evaluation, if they don't get all of the necessary documents and they have to make copies for you, there's going to be additional fees that are going to be charged. Okay. So that's just kind of a brief snapshot of what each agency looks like, so that way you know you're in the right place. So team, do y'all have any additional questions or anything else that you guys can think of that we will need to address for our viewers?
I honestly can't think of anything, Cherie. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you. Oh, I know what it was. How long does it take, start to finish? Yes, that was Ernesto's question earlier. So what we saw on some of the websites where they were talking about some of the processing times, I know the transcript research in particular had a estimate without the additional fees for 3 to 4 weeks. And right here, you can see on here, it's 15 to 20 business days. So what that is that is including, okay, so it's not including the mailing time for them to receive the documents. That is, they have received the documents and they have processed them. And they have notified you that we are done processing your documents. We are sending the evaluation report out. So that's going to take 3 to 4 weeks under normal circumstances. From there, those documents get sent to your house and international admissions at TCC, which is at the Trinity River campus. So from there, once international admissions receives it, you want to plan on an additional 1 to 2 weeks for our in-house people to process it and update your record. And what they will do is they're going to notify you via TCC email to let you know that your evaluation has been approved. So notice that they don't necessarily tell our students, I've received it. You have to follow up with them, but they will tell you it has been approved. And then I noticed that there's a little bit of lag time, like between when the student received notification and when it's been updated in our system. It seems like it takes about 2 or 3 days later where I would actually be able to pull the record myself and see that their foreign credentials have been uploaded into a super screener colleague for us to view. So I would plan on 6 weeks minimum. A lot of times I tell students probably closer to 2 months, given our current situation. Grab them early because there are some shipping delays that are going on right now. So, which is why I mentioned you might want to use a local company. So even though the shipping is delayed, the documents don't have to go as far. Or you can go to Houston and pick them up. Okay. And I think that was the last thing I could think of that that is a major frequently asked question. Anything else, y'all?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What if the student has a language that is not commonly not, I want to say commonly known, but really that is not a common language that there would be a lot of translators for?
Ooh.
Mm.
I haven't had that happen yet.
Okay.
I would check on the, so normally if it's like a language that's not as common, like Spanish or French, Arabic, Farsi, and stuff like that,
Correct.
I would still go to the American Translators Association and see if we can at least find somebody on here that can translate it from that native language, and if it's on that list.
Okay.
So that's a good question. It's just I haven't had that happen yet. But this is where I normally jump to at least make sure before we get started and we start exchanging money. It's like, let me make sure I can find somebody who is certified that can translate these documents. And then we would go there. Good question. Anything else, counterparts?
You did a good job, Sheree.
Thank you. Okay, y'all. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and conclude this presentation. Thank you all for sitting in and being my audience and providing feedback and all that fun stuff. I appreciate you so much. And I'm going to let you guys get on with your day. And as always, if y'all have questions, feel free to contact me as well as my 3 counterparts that are listed below, and we will be more than happy to assist you.